Nobody goes, oh, yeah, he agrees that we hate his guts. Now we like him. No, they say, oh, why should we like you if you don't even like yourself? Why are you doing this? Why are we doing this to children? This kid should not. Here's how he should have taken that compliment. Oh, thanks. Thanks. And just, that's it. You don't have to go, oh, I'm filled with shame. Let me, pull down my pants and just whip my bare ass and show you that I recognize that I am scum and I'm nothing. And here's the thing. You can play both sides of this because on the one hand, you can say, oh, he has this inferiority complex. But on the other hand, it's also arguably a superiority complex because he's trying to regain his moral authority by showing that it's the whole white guilt argument, which is that I'm regaining my moral authority by paying deference to these people who they need the deference. This is the thing. Can we just interact with each other?
No.
Do we have do we have to do the whole I wish I was black thing? I've had my own struggles in this area, Marcel, so I'm speaking from experience.
Well, guess what? It's time to amplify my voice. I already forgot what I was going to say.
This is classic. This is classic. Amplify my voice. Okay, here's the microphone. I have nothing to say.
I remember now. Yeah, big brain centrist take. I've come back around to the view that whites and blacks have both been told that the other side, like when one is like 10% population, the other half is like one of us is 10%, the other number is like 4 to 1 or 5 to 1 in this country. But we've both been related with the other side fears and distrusts us.
Yes,
and we've both been told this, and this is true. But everybody somehow misses the mark at where the level is of mistrust and dislike. Where I guess blacks are led to believe that whites are like this are just waiting for an excuse to lynch them.
Yeah, and
whites are led to believe that blacks just don't trust them, but it's like a really minor thing.
Yeah,
and
so
this
they both feel like they have to do these rituals.
Yes. But then the truth is,
it's like the two guys who, it's like the father and the son who each think that the other one is gay. So they have these bizarre, dancing around each other of they can't just come out and say what they're thinking because they're trying to let the other one know that I don't have a problem with you being gay. So each of them's trying to let the other one know, I'm cool with you. And I don't look at you as your thing. I look at you as just a person like me.
And but then, plot twist, they are both gay. At the end of the day, whites, as it turns out, don't like being around black people, and as it turns out, blacks really do, whether they think so or not. Fear the I don't know, the wrath of the awakened Saxon. Everybody really is racist. They just don't realize that the critical race theorists are right. Right. You are racist, but not in some weird, ephemeral, inborn way. Rather, it's just waiting situationally to come out. So, you have blacks, trying to find white racism, when it's just two whites talking about very basic political stuff.
Well,
if they really wanted to find,
have a conversation. We're always talking about this. We have the conversation about having the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We never have the conversation, and we've done this for so goddamn long.
Oh, the national monologue about race?
Yes, exactly. It's what happens is it's like those. There's so many things unsaid, that go unsaid, that it's like those marriages where they're just on the brink of divorce.
Dan, I'm sorry, I got to stop you now. I like how you said so, the passive voice there. There are things left unsaid. No. There are things that white people won't say. Right?
Those are your words, not mine.
All right,
I'm just going to agree with them, but I'm not going to say them.
Yeah, America's racial problems are not the fact that blacks are too quiet about them. The national monologue about race is that it's we got to sit down and talk about race, and then blacks rattle off a list of complaints, and then whites say, and it's amazing, whites have this one complaint about black people, which really is, blacks correctly interpreted as just saying shut up, nigger, which is when whites say, but what about black on black crime? Because it's the only way they can think of to tell blacks to stop talking. And blacks correctly hear whites talk black on black crime. It's oh, you just want me to shut up. You don't actually want to hear what I've said. Because if I give you a laundry list of complaints about white behavior, and you're but what about you blacks killing? Oh, you weren't even like listening. You just wanted me to stop, right? But then also notice that the only thing whites can think of to make what again I'm going to call a psychic onslaught stop is to bring up the fact that blacks are also being hurt. They don't actually like bring up things in their own defense. They're just like, hey, you say that we've been doing bad things to you, but there's two sides of the story. You've been doing bad things to you too. Yeah. Like it still centers on black victimhood. The only whites that can directly talk about their victimized status are like white women. And I know it's very brave for me as a black man to criticize white women, but they're like the only ones who was like, actually I've been hurt. And it's always dumb shit.
There was a time allegedly in this country where during the national conversation, there was like a talking stick. And allegedly there was a time when white men had it. And they wouldn't let anyone else have it. And then we gave it to one of you, and you guys broke it into pieces, and everybody else has a piece now except us. And you're all just, none of you will shut up. And we're like, can we have the floor, please? May I speak?
Notice, even in this, dialogue about race that we've just had just now, it's really...
We totally derailed my point.
Right. But notice that we're still talking about like white misbehavior and white pathologies no matter what.
But anyway, in a family... where there are resentments and there are complaints and things that go unsaid between people.
Right.
It's like you're sitting around at Thanksgiving dinner and you're all like tepid and there's certain topics you can't bring up because your brother is going to start screaming about something that happened to him when he was 5 and that he has not let go of, and the power dynamics and all this. Aren't we just a family, Marcel? Don't you feel that way?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I realize when
just
blacks...
an American family.
Yeah. And I've realized something else, Dan. What you said is all great and good, but now I have something to say. I've realized that when racial discussions... Yeah, but
Marcel, what about black on black crime?
Right? Really, I'm sorry. I really do think that like lefties are right. When whites talk about black on black crime, they really are just saying, shut up, nigger. Like, that's really what they're saying to me. Well, not to me, but in general. But I realize when blacks have discussions about race, their idea of not being heard is not that they have a grievance that they haven't stated, but rather they have a demand that may either hasn't been met yet, or even one that they feel like they can't make. So like they have some demand for like, $1 bajillion. They have a demand for some kind of racial justice proposition, right? That they think that it was needed to cure American racism. This time for sure, Charlie Brown, just kick this ball and we'll stop guilting you. And they're like, well, we can't make that one because Whitey won't, accept that, and we're in the minority. And so they just think to themselves, okay, so we're just not going to say that. And then they walk over the conversation like, I feel like I haven't been heard. I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say. Like, they laid out all their grievances, but not all of their demands. But when whites feel like they're unheard, even though they never say it, it's very obvious that they do. I'm looking at your face, and I'm stepping on your lines right now. Right? They mean, right, when whites haven't been heard, what they mean is, like, they have, like, a list of grievances during this discussion. Like, and they just, like, they can't bring a single one of even not even the demands. They can't even bring the grievances up.
Have you heard that story about the Dalton School?
Oh, thank you. Okay, we'll add that. We'll talk about it right now. Talk about the Dalton School right now.
So at the Dalton School, it's like a fancy prep school. They had the part of our whole lockdown COVID scam is that it's like it's become to say fucking as usual, like everything in this fucking scam grift country. Peter Van Buren had an article recently in the American Conservative saying the entire American system is one big grift, and I just never felt it more than ever since lockdown. And this is an example, and I'm going off on a tangent, but it's going to come back around. Like, I went to the store, to a restaurant that usually serves nice, before you get your food, they give you some bread with some Italian garlic oil. You dip it in and you eat it, and it's pretty good. It's like a hot, spicy Italian garlic oil. Delicious, right? Delicious. I love it. And I go there, and I haven't been there in a while, but I've been there multiple times since the original lockdown. And then I say, oh, can we get some bread and oil? And they say, oh, we can't because of COVID. Right? Now, I had been there in March during the lockdown 1, and they gave me bread and oil, but now we can't because of COVID. And I know there's no reason that that's true.
What does that have to do with the Dalton School?
So the point is that you go to the store and you say, oh, can I get this? And they say, oh, we're out because of COVID. And you order something for delivery, and They say, oh, it's going to take 6 weeks because of COVID. This has just become a grab bag in the scam vernacular of America that you can just say COVID and then you can do whatever the fuck you want. So these teachers at the Dalton school didn't want to go back to school. They say because COVID. And then specifically, certain teachers of certain diverse whatever said that certain children who are of color should not be asked to go back to school because the teachers and students of color, it's dangerous because they have to take longer, they have longer commutes to get to the Dalton school than the white student. So reopening school for in-person education.
Whoa. The complaint is that black students have too long a commute?
The complaint for reopening the school was that the students of color and the faculty of color have longer commutes than the white people in the building. And therefore, you're putting them at greater risk because they're going to be on the subways. They're going to be out there and about in COVID world catching COVID. So, yes, you white people, you can get in your transporter and you just show up at school. But we have to march through the ICU to get there. So how will we get...
Some members of our audience who are young, that is to say my age, may not realize what an insane Kafka trap that is, considering how hard civil rights activists fought to be bused from miles away into districts that were mainly white. They fought for longer commutes. That was the whole fucking struggle. And now the complaint is that the schools can't open because the black students are coming from too far away.
We know what this was. This was the same thing it was with that teacher at the Chicago Teachers Union who was on a Zoom call from next to the beach in Puerto Rico and was saying, it's unsafe, we can't open the schools, I have a conga line to get back to. They don't want to go to work. It's an open scam. They don't want to go to work. This is why people...
That's just an insult. This
is why people become teachers, so they don't have to work. So these people said, oh, we'll throw racism in there. Between COVID and racism, it can't miss, right? It's both barrels.
That's what we call that's a royal flush.
Yeah, it's both barrels of the shotgun. We're going to pull them because then we don't have to go back to work, and we will burn this whole country down before we do our jobs for 1 minute. Because I am a teacher. All right, to ask me to do my job is basically asking me to die. I would rather die than go in there.
Actually, I take it back. Citing COVID and racism is not a royal flush. That's actually a full house.
So this is what caused the Dalton School to do what white people do in these situations. What white institutions do. They said, okay, we will set up a blue ribbon commission, and then you can leave us alone. So they set up a commission of some kind to investigate racism at the Dalton School. I don't know. And the commission had some findings, and they said, here's what we're going to do. And Scott Adams had a great little bit he did on this that I'm just going to steal. So this is what happens, all right? I'm a white guy in this Dalton School meeting, right? And they go, okay, we have some proposals to address racism at the Dalton School. I go, that's great. First one is we're going to hire a sort of liaison to the black students. So the idea is, that a lot of them might not feel comfortable, so we're going to have one assigned faculty member who's sort of like a one-stop shop that they can go to, who's just there sort of to be a resource for the kids. So if they feel like, they're experiencing some sort of racism problem or something like that, they won't have to go to one of these white teachers. They can go to somebody that maybe they feel more. Okay? What do we think? When we go around, we vote, and that gets to me, and I'm the white guy, and I go, yeah, I'll vote for that. That sounds good. You have somebody as a resource. Can't hurt, right? They have them there, and if the kids don't need them, they don't need them. Right. And then they say, okay, the next one is we're going to hire 12 diversity officers for the school, and some psychiatrists who are there to do, for these kids who can't handle the racism that they're under all the time, right? And then you go around and you go to me and I go, 12 seems like a lot. I kind of like the directionally where you're going with it, the idea of people the kids can talk to, and we want resources obviously, but 12 seems like a lot of people. And then they go, okay, Hitler, we brought you in here because we thought you were going to be helpful and we thought you were going to be constructive, but we didn't know you were going to go full Hitler in the first meeting. And there's no way out of that trap. You can't back your way out of it. And you go, no, I meant